This is Everett Pierce of Einstein 314, and today is November the 12th, 2016. Now, I want to introduce myself, like I just did, Everett Pierce, the third, the Pi Man, an Alpha Prime, an Energy Man, a Numbers Man. So, not patting myself on the back, and I have a tendency to be modest and say, I'm probably the best problem solver you ever meet. So, I am the best problem solver you'll ever meet. And I have alienable rights. So, there's some things that you need to know about me. So, to start this relationship, so you can get to know me, and hopefully I can get to know you. Okay, one of the things you need to know about me is when I talk, when I speak, I am on the advanced level 3 of evolution. Now, I've had people criticize me and with my English and my grammar, and I run into many issues on Facebook and other accounts that I have. I have one issue, which is Google voice to text, and we'll just say I'm saying I'm going to go to the store, and then it'll print out, there's a brand new Toyota. But anyways, it's and you probably experience it too, is less than perfect. Okay, well, first of all, at a young age, I fell on my head, straight down. And for the fact that I'm not paralyzed, for the fact that I'm not brain dead, okay, is ever since that has happened, and of course I had another incident where I went through the windshield of a car, so I've had several incidents that I should be dead. But energy is not going to allow that. Okay, but it doesn't mean I don't and I suffer from that head trauma. Okay, so just be aware of that. Is I have my good days and bad days just like anyone else. But when I was younger, I had to either be a vegetable or move in high gear to develop all my brain to its capacity. Okay, so I do have some hiccups from time to time. Okay, and the thing, what I realize with other people is like my hiccups, in a sense, I gain a little bit of normalcy. So, okay, there's other things that's going on. As a true problem solver, one of the best, I am the best problem solver you'll ever meet. And it's not doing this thing. It's not for the means of coming off being superior and trying to push you down. You have to understand in terms, and I used an analogy of numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, is all those numbers have different values. So if I'm a 9 in terms of evolution, and you're a number 1 in evolution, as we know with numbers, they're all equally important. They all have to work together in a system as we learn, as we grow, learning mathematics. So if you take all the mathematics and put it all together, technically, that is the beginnings, like kindergarten, of mathematics. But that's too much for a lot of people, so you break it all down in segments, and people learn as they go. So in terms of quantum is the elementary startings of mathematics. Okay, so as I'm sitting here talking, a lot of people have a hard time understanding this, but I have a second-by-second relationship with God. Okay, I prefer to call the higher level of evolution energy. And it likes the word energy. Because if you're energy and I'm energy, it's energy, that's a form of unity. Okay, so, and we have a lot of religions out there, have different names. And it's kind of like the old quote saying, you can call me anything, but never call me late for dinner. And so anyways, I call God energy. And a second by second relationship with it, as if it's sitting right here next to me. And I'm always in communications with it. I'm its apprentice. So we're a part of the evolution. So technically everyone's an apprentice. So as I'm doing this video, I'm also having a conversation with it. It's also telling me when to stop, especially if it wants me to pause. So I'm trying to put in many different elements into my video that goes beyond the scope of what I'm talking about. So a lot of people have a hard time understanding that. You know, you have a lot of people where they pray maybe 2-3 times a day. You have some people that go to church once a week. And because I have a well-developed sense of multitasking, so not only am I having a conversation with energy in God, I'm also sensing the energy around me. So like, say for example, if I was a jet fighter, even though I have my instruments here, but if I had a bogey, as they say, you know, or enemy behind me, I would sense him before my instruments would say, I have a bogey. Okay, so I'm sensing the things that's around me. And also, well, spirits. My spirit controls my spirit, which is in the subspace of space. How do you go faster than speed of light? It's in the subspace. Okay, so my spirit controls the brain. And then the brain controls the body. And that's how we interact in the physical realms of energy. Okay, so there are many things that I'm doing at the same time doing this video. So for those that are just starting to get to know me, there's different areas we'll cover in regards to me. But I also need you to be aware to not be so critical of me. And it gives you an understanding how I'm putting this video together, what I'm doing, what am I thinking at the time of doing this video. I'm multitasking. So that's an energy man. If you're a woman, that's energy woman. But I'm an energy person. Love, passion of energy and numbers. So I am doing several things. So if I'm also working on problem solving, simulation, like we have a computer and they have a simulator, I also do that up here as well. So if I'm working on a problem and I'm trying to problem solve, that's also working in there too. So if you've ever seen the show House, and the actor House does a lot of things that it's almost as if it's me in a lot of respects. Now, I'm not chomping down Vicodin. I wish I did. The doctors out there, they wanted to, it's as if it's coming out of their front pocket. But I do have major head pains, and it's because of the trauma in which I had when I was younger. But outside of that, you know, that was an obstacle that I got over. But I do have hiccups from time to time. And I have to, I mean, it's part of higher evolution to double, sometimes triple check things or confirmation of things. And especially if you're using Google or Facebook, is I'll write something up and I'll put it up and post it, and I go back and check it, and it's been changed. Like my most recent I was posting, and I didn't put it in there, but in the text, it's just saying a woman. It said a fat woman. And so I'm having to double check a lot of my stuff. So if you're watching my Facebook and my postings, so do you know if you see something that seems kind of odd, that's what I'm experiencing. So I am trying to recheck my stuff for grammatics or words of any sorts. But so that's some of the challenges that I have been going through in terms of my Facebook. Let's see. So that hopefully that'll give you an understanding of what I'm doing, what I'm thinking, if I'm pausing. I'm also talking to energy, God, if you will. Now, a lot of people would, when they think about that, and they say second by second. I'm talking to it, it's talking to me, and just as if it's physically here. And you say, well, because I hear some of these preachers and I took the gold last night. It's actually kind of funny with some of these people. If you were truly talking to God or energy, well, I hate to say this, but it has a language of all of its own. And not only that, it has thousands of different ways and resources to communicate to and from me. So that's why I've frustrated or baffled some people of how I can put out communications, and I don't even use my cell phone. I can communicate with it at all times. So, which is nice. It's awesome. And the nice thing about that is, in terms of loneliness, is I don't know how to be lonely. I mean, I've simulated in my head is tried to understand those who has the feeling or in the position of being lonely. But with the relationship I have with energy, it's like, no, I struggle at that. And in fact, I don't really want to entertain it, but the only reason why I entertain it is to try to understand other people. So when I'm talking, when I'm teaching, I have multitasking going on. And, like I said, as Einstein, if you don't know something in its simplest form, you don't know it enough. And I'm still working at trying to do as little as possible, not being involved in so many different things all at once. But that's how I am. That's how my spirit is. Now, back when I was Einstein, they stole my brain thinking there was a secret within my brain. And the secret is not in the brain. The brain is like a tool. Just like I pick up a 9/16 wrench and I use it to take my starter off. Okay, so like the old quote, you're only as strong as your weakest link. So the flesh in which you have, your brain, if it's incapacitated or not developed the way it should be, then that also limits my spirit of operating this body. Okay, so I know this. I'm on the advanced level, so I know how to expand the potential of my brain. Now, when I say expand, I don't mean like Arnold Schwarzenegger where I keep pumping my arm and my brain gets bigger, because if I did that, then pressure would be built up in my head, and that wouldn't be good. So I have to expand my brain in ways that doesn't involve it getting bigger, to allow more of my spirit to be able to use my brain so I can interact in the physical realms of energy. So they've done study on my brain. Someone stole my brain as Einstein, which I thought was kind of funny. And they discovered some things about the brain that, of course, when I died, my brain was in a condition of someone younger. Okay, so that told them right there that somewhere along the line that I took the brain out of its default settings. And that's essentially why I'm sitting here talking to you right now. When I fell off the building, 2-story house, onto my head, it wasn't flat like this hitting down. It was almost a straight down. Boom. And it split my head all the way open. And when I went like this, my fingers went into about the second knuckle. So, according to my cousin, I was up in a matter of a few seconds. But to me, it was like I was out for quite a few hours. So that's why I wanted to bring some of these things to you, so you have a better understanding of me, and ask you not to be so critical, because I am a problem solver. I've been through some things. So, and I think I'm doing pretty damn good considering what I've been through. And I think it's time that we start getting to know one another. Because essentially, when I think about what's happening with our government, with our nation, me as an example. Okay, me as an example. I've seen this. Why do we have so much untapped resources? Meaning we have a lot of people, intelligent people out there, and they're not being used. Like me, for example. So, why am I not being used in that respect? So if it's happening to me, it's also happening to many other people. And when you look at the society as a problem solver, everything is a telltale sign to something else that's much bigger. So if I have a snotty nose, that's not the problem. That's a symptom of the thing that's causing the problem. So if I take care of the problem, meaning the cold, my sore throat and the snotty nose will go away. So when you see protesters out there, like what's been happening with Donald Trump, when I'm viewing it, I said, okay, they're angry, they're upset that Hillary did not win. Okay, but I'm looking at it from this perspective, is the protesters don't realize people give off the truth. People also give off false. As a true energy man, I'm developed where I'm able to identify both. So when I see these protesters, which is actually rioters because they're breaking the law, there's a difference. So now it's telling me how many Democrats in our government who operates and thinks on that same level. Our protesters out there think it's okay to break the law. It's okay to block up a street. If someone was to need medical emergency and they can't get it right away, they're going to die. Their house is on fire and then the fire truck can't get there, someone's house is going to burn down. And someone could burn down in it. So now, but I don't necessarily just the protesters itself. I mean, you have the right to protest. Okay, to voice your opinion. But it is not right to stand forward on what you think is the cause, at the same time, take someone else's liberties. Okay, we've had a past in man's timeline, like Ku Klux Klan, is they were in their cause and they were going to take other people's rights away. Kill people, beat them. So, that's the things we have to avoid. And that's a lot of the things that's going on at this given time. Is I acknowledge all the problems that we're having in the United States with our government, with our people, and I see things from a mechanical and scientific approach. People like to be more mysterious or secret, but human behavior is more predictable than what you may realize. But that's only in the mindset of someone on a higher level of understanding of human behavior. So basically what I'm saying is people snitch themselves out from the words they say, how they say it, what they're doing, when they're doing it. So that's why when you gather this information up, it tells me a bigger picture. It tells me we also have some Democrats in our government, with these protesters, think it's okay to break the law, burn the flag, set police cars on fire, hurt people. I saw a video where these two African Americans were beating up on a white guy. It's a senseless crime. But see, what I've also noticed out there is a lot of people don't need a legitimate excuse to do something. They just feel like doing something illegal. Okay, I've done some research in behind the walls of prison. So I know both sides of that fence now. I know from inside being a prisoner, being an inmate. I've studied that. I've studied the prison system. I've studied society, research. So when it comes to problem solving, I'm well versed in many different areas of the current times. And that's what allows me to be the best problem solver of knowing about energy, human behaviors, and I can put it all together that makes a good functional system for everyone. So that's why I want to put this video together, so you have a little better understanding of me and why I've been kind of on the low for probably, well, I'm moving on to be 48 years old. So you're looking at a untapped resource of the United States. I have a wealth of knowledge and understanding and problem solving, and in many areas. And it would blow your mind as to all the different things that I do know. And I don't say that conceitedly. I say that is because that's what I need to develop to be the best problem solver there is. To understand energy, numbers, cause and effects, knowing the foundation of energy. And while you're listening to my video, I'm also having a conversation with energy every second. And so when I pause, and that's why I was saying some of the things I experienced when I was younger, I didn't even mention when I think I was around 7 years old, I stepped in a hole and it turns out to be an underground beehive, and I got stung well over 100 times. And so I've been through hell and back. But, and I teased my doctor, I smoke, and I would say, well, smoking is bad for you, Everett. And to give you an understanding about that too, is we know with energy, foundation of energy, is there's positive and negative. You can't have electricity without positive and negative. So when my doctor says, oh, Everett, you should quit, it'll kill you. And I look at him and I said, I don't think I could get that lucky. And so I'm not saying it's okay to smoke, but I also will deliberately put something in there, and like a cigarette of that sort would represent the negative side of health. I at least put something in there. And there's a reason for that. Okay, so, and I smoke. Okay, I've been thinking about just cutting the cigarettes out. And I have cut down. But at least you understand why I smoke. And to a stimulant, for me, stimulant for some people would bring you up. Stimulants for me bring me down. Or at least bring me down to where, in comparison to other people, I'm feeling more of the normal. Where at normal of Everett, my brain is running actually beyond what like a supercomputer would be. Because I'm also simulation. A good problem solver has to simulate in his head, using all the variables and what he understands of human behavior and cause and effects of energy. And that's how you come up with a good result, or the best result, in terms of problem solving. So there's a lot of things that's going on. When you're experiencing with me, there's other factors that's going on in my head at the same time. And I'm working that towards lowering the amount of things that I do. But as I keep lowering it, I find it more and more difficult. But that's why I said, as Einstein, if you don't know something in its simplest form, you don't know enough. And essentially, the obvious, if you don't know something on the complex level, you don't know it enough. Well, that's quite obvious. So basically what I was trying to say is know all the different levels. So that's been a challenge for me, is to try to keep it smaller and smaller and smaller. And to go from, and I've even joked with people. I told people I am the most retarded and most intelligent person you'll ever meet. And there's a lot of truth to that. Because I try to allow my mind, that allows me to go a wide range, just like a singer has their vocals can go from very, very high to very, very, very low. So I try to get my intelligence that way. So if I'm talking to a child, I can understand from his perspective or her perspective. But if I'm talking to a professor, then I can raise my intelligence up. So it's kind of like a volume on a stereo. Is I can tune it up, and I can also tune it down. So I have a lot of challenges, and not to mention the other challenges I've already experienced with my postings and Facebook, and there's a lot of people out there that I have experienced that they don't want you to come in contact with a person like me, because I'm going to educate you. I'm going to open your eyes up to things. And I think it's time that everyone starts becoming informed and become part of this government, become part of the voting process, so we can ensure that the right people stay in our government. And I'm not a scholar of our government and the structure. I am the author of it. And say, yes, Energy and I have put a system together. It's been simulated in so many different ways of, its positives, its negatives. Like I was explaining in another video that I had about the popular vote and electoral college. And so definitely check out that video. It's part 7B. Okay, and why the electoral college is more of a lesser of the evil versus the popular vote. Even though everyone's vote counts, but there's other things that we have to put in there as a insurance to make sure that fairness is delivered to everyone, and not just people with money, not just with people with power, not just people of whatever, because you got 350 million Americans, which I last heard, and everyone has their own concepts and things they're doing and believing. So we have to have a system of things. So anyways, we'll end it right there. Hopefully that gives you a little more insight to me. No matter what I'm saying and doing, just know, and you should reach that conclusion with me. When the dust settles with Everett, I'm always a we factor. I'm always thinking, what is it in your betterment, in my betterment? So, whether a person's lying or telling the truth, it comes down to a person's intent. And a mother and a child, a mother knows what's in the best interest. So when a mother has a child, she's always looking after the child and what's in the best interest of the child. So if you're an individual and say, well, I just want an honest person. Okay, well, I will take the person that has my best interest versus someone who's honest Abe. So, and it depends on how honesty is or false is being applied and what purpose, what is intent. So one of the things that's hard to prove is a person's intent. the seen and unseen energy. I can tell you the truth. And what a lot of people, in terms of lying and telling the truth, is, and we'll have a video on that itself, because I am on advanced level 3 in terms of communications, and also a problem solver. So to explain things in more of a cause and effect, and what we see was just a good example with this election. Okay, so if you watch that Electoral College, the corruptive tool, it'll make more sense to you. Basically what happened in this election is, of course, by the popular vote, we have more Democratic type people out there. Okay, because if you have families out there that got money and they can procreate, you don't think that has been thought of before? Where if you get your group size large enough, then you become, you're no longer the minority. And when it comes voting time, and if it was just popular vote, then you would always dominate that government. Okay, and that's why we had Electoral College. And so anyways, another thing I want to establish, I've said many times, and I say this boldly, there is a difference between someone who is scholar and someone who is the author. I'm not a scholar, I'm an author. So, because of me, now you may not be on the level of believing that reincarnation exists, but it does exist. It's inseparable to evolution, just like heat is inseparable to the sun. Like bees and honey. Bees and honey is inseparable. So I'm not here to prove or force you to think, but you will know, you'll automatically eliminate a lot of things. You will know that at my worst, you're in a win-win situation. At my worst. And that's the whole objective, is no matter where you're at on that scale, from a 0 to a 9, you know what the number system is, they have to work together. Just like a Ferrari motor. You have all these little pieces, but they have to work together. If something falls out of line, or out of place, out of protocol, then you're going to get into your Ferrari, and you're going to try to start it, it won't start. Or if it starts, it runs rough. And that's what we're seeing with our nation. United States needs to move into, we are the big brother and big sister of other nations. We have to start acting like it. And we have to eliminate a lot of things that shouldn't be there, and put things in there that should already have been in there. And that's the level in which I'm on. I'm an untapped resource. An untapped resource. So how many others, in terms of women in all walks of life, that's out there, and they're just as willing as I am, love and passion for things, and they are also untapped resources. So in terms of my video, I try not to make it too professional, because one of the things I know about the television and things are too fancy, for a lot of people, it's because of the commercials and everything else, and as seen on TV, and with a lot of the people that do a lot of this, and they utilize a lot of the many tools of human behaviors. And a lot of people are at that point of, it's hard to really believe a lot of people. It's hard to, what they're saying, is it really true? Is this someone I can truly trust or count on, or what he's saying? And I can understand that frustration. I live with it all the time. But I kind of minimize my frustration, and I always keep my evolutional glasses on, and I try to understand it from an evolutional perspective. I mean, I identify what's supposed to be there, and I also identify the stuff that is there in excess that really shouldn't be there. So that's how this mind works. This mind is always, even when I'm sleeping, A lot of times I don't remember my dreams, but even in my dream, it's like 24/7 with me. And with my relationship with God, it's on a level that most people probably, they would try it for a short time, but it would just probably burn them out. And then, like some of the preachers and the people out there in the religion, it's like, well, I talk to God. Well, I have a really hard time believing they truly talk to him. Or God, talk to me. Well, how did God talk to you? Well, he told me this. Really? It's interesting because some of the real important, sensitive stuff that I have with energy is on much different levels than English. So you're telling me that you're talking to God and it's in English or in your language. Not one of them have I said, well, God communicated in this way to me, in that way to me, in this way to me, in a way that I would understand it. As we hear in terms of religion, God works through people. Okay. Well, what's another form of that? Meaning God communicates through other people. And if you're developing your sense of awareness and communications, you'll discover another form of how energy is trying to communicate to you. Now, if you've seen on my postings, sometimes I put up license plates. I even, with birds, I communicate with birds. They communicate with me, or animals actually. I mean, because animals are, they're really hard set and linked into self-preservation because it's survival. They're out there. So I use everything in my environment as feedback. Feedback. So like when I was in prison, and this was right before 9/11 went down. Okay. It was a white pigeon that swooped down and was doing somersaults in the air. And that was the starting of me knowing what was going to happen in terms of 9/11. And that was 2 weeks before it happened. And even other people had noticed that. And he said, man, hey, man, what's up with you, man? Every time we come out here, these birds come out here. I said, so you notice it too. Yeah, man, that's weird crap there, man. But anyways, everything is energy. And there's many forms of communications. If you develop your sense of communications, energy opens itself up to you. Whether it be animals. So if it's energy, it's a life form. That's the way you got to approach it. We think of life, it's got to be someone else moving like us. If it's energy, it's life. It has a personality. It can communicate to you. Whether it be trees or animals, everything. If you just take the time to develop that. That's why I am a wealth of knowledge. That's why I know some things before it happens. Or able to identify truth and false. I have well-developed skill sets in this area. So, anyways, we'll end it right there. But hopefully that gives you a better understanding about me. I love purple. It's probably one of my favorites. I like all colors. Don't get me wrong. Purple and red, and usually red is associated. Well, like we've seen in Arizona with the red lights hovering in the sky. The UFOs. Are we alone? And it's like, really? So no, we are not alone. Okay, so I think that's quite obvious. But these other life forms also respect the foundation of energy. Is they try not to interfere with our evolutionary process, but they will step in if it's absolutely necessary. So I have pictures of the moon with these red dots all over it. So, do they hang out there? You bet your ass they do. So, but they're usually on the backside where you don't see them. But I do have a picture of the red lights. The same red lights that was in Phoenix, Arizona. I call my red little friends. So you'd be amazed to the power and resources and higher evolutionary technology that they have. Just one of those red glowing balls that you see can literally take a nation down to their knees in seconds. That's the power in which they have. And for the fact, I mean, they're not, should be obvious, they're not here to destroy you. If anything, it's kind of like a chaperone. So we don't destroy each other in that respect. And in terms of why have we not meet them? Well, people are struggling with trying to understand each other in other nations and get along. If you can't get along with other nations and with yourself and within your own people, and then you want to meet people from other planets, you're failing here overall of getting along, unity, united we stand, trying to understand you versus trying to fight and kill people. And then you want to move on. I want to see an alien. I want to talk to this other person from another life form from another planet. You know, you got to start with step one, and then you go to step two. When people are in a much better state, then they will make themselves more in the open. It will be nothing to hide in that respect. So, are they here? Is there other life? How could it not be? I mean, I think we hold these truths to be self-evident. If we are here, and you see that vastness out there, and the stars, I mean, it's huge. I mean, in terms of, time is relative, size is relative. So that's how Everett Pierce thinks and does things. And so you have a better understanding. So hopefully you're not too critical about things. You understand, I do have some hiccups. That's why I got to double check things. But overall, I was able, even after having that experience, I was still able to develop my brain to its full potential. But it doesn't say, like, for example, I'm always in a constant state of thirst. So that tells me in my hypothalamus there was some injury there, because I feel like I'm dehydrating. So that's why you always will see me drink. So, and I know in my mind I'm not dehydrated, but I'll deal with that any day versus being paralyzed. So hopefully that gives you at least the first step to getting to understand me. And I want to make that step to understanding you. That's how we become successful. So anyways, this is Everett Pierce on November the 12th, 2016. And hopefully we have started an awesome relationship. I'm an untapped resource, and I'm sure you are too. And that's how we're going to make America great, is let's uncap our resources. And I ain't talking about it like an oil well, where it's been capped and it's being saved as if it doesn't exist.